Good morning. It's very early on Saturday morning, and this week we've spent an age getting materials down here on site. So today we will be getting ready for the concrete pour, which will happen tomorrow, and then the base is finally finished. So if I walk you around, with the tipper over there in the distance, it's got 50 bags of cement on it and the DPM and a long length of timber for tamping the concrete. And then in the foreground here we've got I had delivered 30 tons. The mound is 15 tons and there's another 15 tons within the wall structure to backfill and get the levels, fill up the edges where the trench was. And then over here to the right we've got the underfloor insulation. So you'll see as the day progresses the black sheet go down to the damp proof membrane, and that'll be on top of a layer of sand so it doesn't get pierced. And the drainage pipes for the waste pipe in the toilet area, that'll be going in, and then the insulation will go on top, and then a further layer of damp proof membrane, belts and braces. As you all know, I'm good for belts and braces, and it's all starting to take shape.
Okay, so we've had a couple of questions.
Yep.
So Daytona 2. Well, it's not really a question, it's more a comment. He said, I didn't know PIR could bear that kind of weight. So I think he's obviously interested in the way that we're using insulation underneath concrete. So tell us about that.
PIR is the newer insulation used during my working life. Originally it was polystyrene we put down, and we used to put 2-inch polystyrene down in the early days of my work, and then the council building regs people constantly updated and improved on the specification. So we started with 2 inches of polystyrene, then we went to 3 inches of polystyrene, and then this new product came out that nobody'd seen before, going back 30 plus years ago, and it was PIR. Now I've looked up the name of PIR and I can't pronounce it, but basically it's this stuff. So when it was introduced to us, we were told that it has twice the insulation value per thickness. So whereas we were using 75mm of polystyrene, we could get away with using 37mm of PIR, Kingspan, or Celotex. They're just brand names for PIR. So great, we thought that saves us nothing, just doubles the cost, because PIR boards are twice the price of polystyrene boards, and the depth of a floor isn't cost effective based on the thickness. So with further developments and further improvements on the specifications, they went from 37mm PIR board under the floor to 50mm to 75mm, and today's specification or building recommendations are between 75mm and 100mm of PIR boards underneath the concrete slab. So any of those of you who watched the channel before knows I always go slightly overboard. We've opted for 120mm of PIR board, which is above building regs, which basically means that our floor is not going to pass any heat really into the ground, and no ground frosts are going to come up and make our slab cold. So that's the question on PIR. It's twice as effective as polystyrene, which was the original, but also its load bearing capabilities are far more because it's a harder, denser structure, and also it's less polystyrene that we used to put under the floors. In the instance of under a concrete floor, it's not really relevant, but polystyrene was very flammable, and this stuff, I've thrown some onto a bonfire and come back the following morning and there's ashes and this stuff left. So this stuff won't burn on a bonfire.
Not that we're advocating burning this on a bonfire now, are we, Reece?
We're not, but that's the test for it. Obviously, if you're burning timber on a bonfire, campfire, if you want to test this product, put it on your campfire, and when you come back in the morning, there'll be ashes and this stuff left because it just doesn't burn. Cool. So,
right.
What was the other question?
Another question from Plain and Pretty, who asks, are we putting any kind of foundation drain around the house? Well, the shed.
Right, well, that side there, I don't know if you can see, maybe you want to
the far side?
use these camera to illustrate
I'll
this.
try. The sun's very low now because we're, nearly 9 o'clock in the evening.
It is, yeah. It's just gone, just dropped below 25 degrees, so I'll come back out to do the last finishing touches. So the question was?
Are we going to put a drain around the house?
This block here forms what was effectively an inner skin, and then we've got a gap here of 70 mils, and then we've got the top of our footing, which is a concrete block and concrete that we've seen before. So all of this ground level here is elevated and needs to be backfilled towards the cabin, but we don't want it leaning up against this because the ground level is higher than the floor level. This is finished floor level. So what I'm going to do, we'll put more concrete in here, and we're going to put an 18-inch retaining wall straight up off of it. And what that is going to form is a channel all the way around the two sides that where the ground is elevated, because these blocks will stack up to the finished ground level, the garden alongside it, and they will come up, so we'll have the cabin and a retaining wall, and between the cabin and the retaining wall we're going to paint all this in black bitumen, and then the water that gets through the retaining wall, because we'll have to put weep holes through to stop the water behind the retaining wall pushing the wall over. We'll put some pipe through the retaining wall to allow any moisture in that ground to come through into this channel here, which is 9 inches below finished floor level. So yes, we will be putting drainage around, but it will be only between the outside of the cabin and the retaining wall. The front sections of the cabin, the ground level is going to be lower than permitted levels between floor level and outside paved level. It's got to be a 6-inch drop, so that won't need drainage, but across the back, yes, we will. So
Excellent. So any more questions, please just ask.
Ask in the comments any questions. I've been doing this for 30 plus years and I've come across most things, and I can answer any questions.
What you see in front of you now is going to disappear tomorrow. It'll be covered in another membrane, and then the concrete will be poured on top of that.
Yes. Building reg stipulates that you have polythene underneath the concrete, but in previous years some building regs at certain times have wanted the plastic layer underneath the insulation, and then they swapped and changed to underneath, above, and then at one point there was a few building inspectors that were saying they want to see it above and below. So if we do it above and below, then
we can't go wrong.
We can't go wrong. And double layers of DPM. Plus obviously nothing else is going to come up through this. It will only come up through on the joins anyway, because this is pretty much waterproof as a product. So provided there were no nicks or tears in the sheet underneath, but if you watched the video all the way through, you'd have seen us blinding the surface of the aggregate with sand whilst we were whacking it, so there's no sharp objects. So 2 layers is better than 1. And we look forward to seeing the end of the concrete, so we can crack on with building the cabin, which is a different ball game altogether. Timber work is a different job. It can be carried out in the rain. You can stop and start. You're not depicted by how much you've mixed, and it's not as heavy. It's easier on the feet. It's also easier on the back. So I'm looking forward to next week when we start putting up some walls and actually seeing some impact for the amount of effort that it's taking. So that's the end of that.
So later in this video you'll see tomorrow's work, which obviously hasn't happened yet, and that will be then from where we left it last week, showing the levelling and making good with the concrete pad that was here previously, and filling all of those gaps in to the fully insulated layer in place with the concrete. It's going to be a hot day tomorrow, and it's heavy work for such a large concrete pour by hand.
Yeah.
So if you want to see grown men sweat, that's later on in this video, so keep watching.
Yeah, watch through to the end to see the end of the ongoing shed base, basically. It's been ongoing for what seems like an eternity right now, and I'll be glad to see the back of it. So keep watching to the end, and you can see the finished product. So here we have extra help. Huh? Say hi, Tom. And here was the master of shoveling, very experienced in mixing concrete, and we're off. 2 mixers, 12 ton of concrete, 4 inches thick, or 5 inches thick actually. So we'll crack on.